Hey there guys, it's me again, Eric, and this time I'm going to talk about a seldom seen movie called Stepsisters. It's also known as Hands of Blood. It was made in 1974 on a super low budget. It was directed by a guy named Perry Tong, and the budget was only $17,000. Now that's extremely low, even for a super low budget 70s flick. It was shot in 6 days down in Texas, and I was first exposed to the movie via the Regal VHS release. As you can see, it has a very alluring cover. It really grabs your attention. You got the two broads here. She's got the murderous reflections in her shades there. You know, it's just a really cool painting, really captures your imagination, and Regal was great at this, just like I said in the Three on a Meat Hook review. Regal just had a way of grabbing the attention of someone strolling through a video store aisle. They really did. And also, just like Three on a Meat Hook, the copyright date on the sleeve for this release is 1985. But on the actual VHS itself, the copyright date is 1986. So that to me implies that 1986 was when these hit the store shelves. And yeah, so right there is the cover for the VHS release. Now, on DVD, Image Entertainment put it out in 2002, gave it a little release on DVD, and they used the Hands of Blood title, as you can see right there. Now, this has a cool interview on it with the director, Perry Tong, and I was able to learn a few useful tidbits from that interview, which I already shared with you. The fact that, you know, they shot the movie in 6 days, the budget was only 17 grand. I mean, so it was really like a labor of love for this guy making this movie. A large portion of this film is shot in this really imposing and sinister looking house. It's like kind of like an old ranch, but it's big enough to be a mansion. And in fact, in real life, it was used as like a casino at different times. And when Perry Tong and the crew filmed this movie, they had to pay the owner of this house $100 a day to shoot there. And there were people that lived in that house. And the people that lived there had to go sit out in their fucking cars while Perry and his small little crew were shooting the movie. They would just sit in their cars all day long because Perry literally shot from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. at night. So all those hours while they were shooting, the people that lived there had to just go sit in their cars and eat sandwiches and just fucking stare out into the distance. They had nothing else to do. Now, they would let them come in to use the fucking restroom, but that was about it. So I thought that was kind of funny. Now, this house had a history also of being haunted. You know, it was an old turn-of-the-century ranch house, so, you know, when you'd be walking on the floor, there were all the creaks and groans, plus the wind blowing through the old windows. You know, the structure of the house really had a lot of spooky sounds. I guess one person even said that they saw an apparition on the 3rd floor of the house. So there's a little bit of haunted backstory if you're into that kind of thing. And, you know, Perry Tong's a really articulate fellow, and I really enjoyed that interview. I mean, you get to learn more useless knowledge than you'll ever need to know about a little movie called Stepsisters, you know, that no one really cares about. So to me, that's cool. I like learning stuff about obscure movies like this, even ones that aren't really any good. So the first thing that leaps out at you when you start this movie is there's this quick flurry of fast cuts, like someone went totally apeshit at the editing table. Just different shots of a police cruiser, and then that old imposing looking house. You know, it has a real psycho-esque quality. I mean, I can definitely see why Perry Tong wanted to utilize it so much in the film. And then you see this dude, and we later learn more about this guy. His name's Thorpe. But anyway, he gets in his car and he's just driving through the Texas countryside while this really bizarre song is playing over the opening credits. And this song has this driving up-tempo feel of a Lynyrd Skynyrd track, but it also has really dissonant qualities like an old Darkthrone or Burzum song. If you're familiar with certain types of black metal, it really delves into really dissonant sounding notes. and just has this weird raw production. So it's a really weird song. Like I said, I mean, it's like a mixture of Leonard Skinner with fucking Burzum. So really off-kilter, gets the movie started off on a weird footing. So the movie centers on two stepsisters named Norma and Diana. Now they live in that old house out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. Norma's married to a guy named Thorpe. And Thorpe is just this hard-drinking, hard-living motherfucker. He's just a good old boy, and he likes to go around and sleep with as many broads in this hick town as he can. But then, on the other hand, Norma's no different. She'll sleep with any swinging dick that wanders by the fucking house. So they're both these swinging motherfuckers, and they don't care one iota about each other anymore. They're into just cheating on each other, and that's all they care about. These two have been married for 4 years, but for 3 of the years they've been at each other's throats. And then we also have Diana into the equation, the younger sister. And she's just this really, she's the less attractive of the two. I mean, she's cute in her own way, but she's kind of got a weird face. And anyway, all three happen to live on a very valuable piece of land. And pretty soon they start plotting against each other, and until the very end, we're not really sure who exactly is on whose side. Now, after a painfully slow first 28 minutes, we get our first on-screen death scene, and it's this dude named Stanley is walking out of the old house. He's been fucking Diana all night long, and he's walking out to his car the next morning. Well, when he's walking out to get in his car, someone off-screen comes in with a fucking axe and gives him repeated blows right to the fucking head. Now, the effects are done in that style, in that super low-budget style where there's no prosthetics. You don't see the blade slicing into flesh. It's just done through editing, and then it shows his bloody body lying on the ground, and then he gets drug off screen. So, you know, it's passable. It's a 17 grand budget movie, so I'm not expecting Rick Baker, Tom Savini, KNB style effects in a movie like this. It's that low budget, early 70s style where you just see the after effects with some blood on the body. Anyway, that gives us a little bit of rush of entertainment for a minute, seeing that death, but if you're looking for more deaths like that, they are few and far between, so let's move on and get to the rest of the damn plot. Now, at the 30-minute point in this film, Thorpe starts banging Diana, the younger sister. Not the one he's married to. He's married to Norma, but he starts fucking the younger stepsister. And also, there's a fucking sheriff that looks like a really ugly, messed up version of Walter Matthau. He starts coming over to the house and he's questioning them about, you know, what the hell happened to this Stanley guy. You know, this guy disappeared and no one knows where he's been. So he comes over, since that's the last place he was seen, and starts asking questions while he also likes to ogle at the stepsister's tits. And I can't say I blame him, I would too. From here on out, it just becomes a total free-for-all of betrayal, and it's really hard to decipher who's plotting against who to get that goddamn land money. In addition to the axe murder, we also get a shotgun killing and a bloody butcher knife stabbing. And that's it. This isn't a body count type of movie, so if that's what you're looking for, man, you do not want to watch Stepsisters, because that's not what this is. Hell, it isn't even really a horror movie. It's a half-assed exploitation movie where not a lot happens, and there isn't even that much nudity. I mean, some tits and ass would have went a long way to improving the entertainment value of this flick. It's really sad that none of these girls ever got naked on screen. I mean, there's a lot of sleaze that's implied, but it's never explicitly shown, and this movie is crying out to see some tits and ass. It really is, and it's a real shame. And you could tell that the director, Perry Tong, he probably wanted to show some nudity. I bet the broads in this movie just didn't want to unclothe in front of the camera, because there are certainly shots in the film where his camera just ogles their chest. So I'm betting it was more of a hang-up with the actresses than the actual filmmaker himself. I'm sure he wanted to show some nudity and just couldn't for whatever reason. In that case, they should have had some body doubles or something, but I guess that may have been way beyond the budget of what he had, so I guess we're just barking up a tree that just unfortunately couldn't have been. You get 3 semi-bloody deaths. There's no gore, but you get 3 semi-bloody deaths and no nudity, so that's kind of sad. So what are you gonna do? The final so-called twist at the very end of the film is really lackluster and uninspired also, I must say. You know, after sitting through this movie is only 80 minutes long, okay? But it feels like an hour and 50 minutes. That's how slow it is. So when you get to that ending, and I must say, they do try to pull off a little bit of a horror type atmosphere. That's the closest this movie gets to horror is that final 8 minutes or so. But by then it's much too late, and the twist just isn't that, you know, inspired. It's pretty lackluster overall. I would definitely be remiss if I didn't point out some good aspects to this little film. First and foremost is the honest-to-God Texas location, all right? It's authentic, it's rugged, it's real, and it's raw. I really like that. I like the look of the film, the atmosphere, the pops, the grain, everything about that is awesome. And what is it about Texas in the 70s in a horror movie, and in the 80s also? There's just something about that state. It just has a great look for horror and exploitation movies. There's just something about it. Now, me, myself, I'm really partial to mountains and rolling hills because that's where I'm from. But Texas, even though it's flat, it's got the horror vibe down. So it lends a little bit of atmosphere to this movie. It's too bad, though, that the score is just all over the place. You got some snippets of music here and there that kind of add to a little bit of a rustic, outback horror type of atmosphere. But then it just goes off in super bizarre directions in a bad way. Like some of the country music that plays on the soundtrack is just a little bit too campy. It doesn't have, you know, at the very beginning of the movie, the country rock style song that plays, it has a nightmarish type of tinge to it, an unsettling quality. Well, too much of the music in the rest of the movie doesn't have that oddball type quality. It doesn't have enough dissonance to it. So I feel that the music score, I would give it a fucking C-. It could have been a lot better. If more of the music would have been like that intro piece, the movie would have been even better for sure. It would have helped a lot. But I just love the way everything looks, from the old cars, the old gas station, and I mean, look at the dress on that broad right there. I mean, this is just real, authentic stuff. It's not no fake-ass Hollywood soundstage bullshit here. So I gotta give the movie some credit for that at least. I mean, it's really funny how antiquated and old certain turns of phrase, you know, bits of terminology that they use in this movie, like some guy, that Stanley guy, when he comes over to take Diana out to see a drive-in movie or whatever, he says, come on, let's go down and see the picture show. You know, just hearing stuff like that, you know, it really warms my heart, you know, because I'm a very nostalgic type of person. And it's also kind of sad. I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I get this very melancholy type feeling when I'm watching an old film, because I realize, and I'll think to myself, isn't it funny how, you know, perhaps half of the people that were responsible for filming and making this movie, maybe half of them are dead now. You know, a lot of the people involved in this production might not even be alive anymore. And, you know, so there's, you know, you get that feeling when you're watching these old movies because they are a snapshot of a different time. Now back to the bad points. Just once more, I have to say this movie moves at a glacial pace. I mean, sometimes it seems like it would be more entertaining to watch fucking paint dry. Pardon if I use a cliche. But that's just the way it is. This movie's really slow for the most part. And even though I love the look of it and everything, and hell, these actors don't do a half bad job, the pacing's just super slow, and there's a lot of padding. We get the point that Thorpe is a fucking pilot. I don't need to see him fly his stupid ass plane in the air for what seems like an eternity. It does nothing to advance the plot. All it's doing is making me want to lay down and go to sleep. That's not what I want when I watch a movie. I want to be entertained. I want to have an intriguing experience. So, you know, the pacing is just fuck, man. Come on. Let's do something. Let's speed it up somehow. Make things happen. Also, a big thorn in my side is when there are too many day for night scenes. Now, you guys probably know what that is. People that are into cinema, into movies, know what that means. That means there are no authentic, it's not really shot at night. The night scenes are instead shot in the day, and then they try to use like fucking, you know, exposure type tricks to make it look like it was shot at night. But really, you can tell it wasn't. I hate day for night. I don't like it when movies do that. So yeah, there's too many day for night scenes. There's no actual night scenes, and that would have helped add atmosphere. Because here's the thing, that house that they used in this movie, it was made for a horror film. I mean, that is a horror film house right there, and the property that surrounds it. I mean, it's just tailor-made for a good horror show, and so it's sad that they couldn't get any fucking real night scenes in this thing. In this issue of Fangoria magazine right here, there's a whole write-up about a producer named Jeff Hogue. That's him standing right there. And anyway, this guy would buy the rights to movies like Stepsisters and Three on a Meat Hook and such, and then he would license these titles out to Regal Video. For instance, it says in here, it says in this interview that he purchased the rights for Stepsisters for $5,000. And then they ask him here what he thought of Stepsisters, and it's funny here, he says, Fangoria asks him, was Stepsisters a good film? And Hogue says, no, it was horrible. It has no socially redeeming value whatsoever. I thought that was kind of funny. So anyway, but it's funny, in the special feature with Perry Tong on this Hands of Blood DVD, and you guys should grab this DVD. I mean, it's real, you can get this thing real cheap. It's not in demand, trust me. But in the interview with Perry Tong, he says that it did pretty well at the drive-ins in the 70s. So, you know, that's cool. I mean, this guy seems like a good guy just from the interview I saw. I was surprised by how smart and down-to-earth the guy was, because you wouldn't necessarily get that by watching this movie. You'd expect that it was made by some, I don't know, weird drunken reprobate somewhere or something, because it's just a... It's a bizarre movie. You gotta check it out. It's slow and boring, but, you know. So in the end, would I recommend Stepsisters? I would only recommend it to the most deranged, completist, hardcore horror freaks like me that just have to see every goddamn curiosity that the 1970s coughed up. Those are the only people I'd recommend it to. If you've got to see every weird little off-the-wall, obscure 70s flick. I mean, this Regal artwork is just so amazing, and you know, I'm sure it lured many other unsuspecting horror fans into its web back in the day when they'd see it on that store shelf, and that's what it did to me. I mean, when I you know, started going to a place called Video Varieties that I've talked about many times, they had 2 of these things, and you know, I grabbed it and rented it right away. I was like, man, that looks really interesting. And it turns out that it's mostly a boring movie, but interesting at the same time. You know, it's got, that's the weird dichotomy with these old obscure movies. Actual movie's boring, but the air around it, something that surrounds it, you know, that nostalgic feeling, makes it so that we have to grab them up and we have to cherish these movies and we have to talk about them and keep watching them. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please smash the like button. Please click subscribe if you haven't, and leave me a damn comment. I love reading them, and I'll see you guys next time, okay? Thanks.